also possible that one of the Florida offensive linemen reached out and grabbed the face mask. Perhaps Cheston Blackshear.
You know, that's exactly what happened. Number 77, Cheston Blackshear, grabbed number 51, Brandon Miller.
Well, it is going to be a face mask, but we think it's on the offense.
It's a good call by the official.
And back go the Gators.
Personal foul. Face mask on the offense. The penalty would be from the spot of the foul, half the distance to the goal line.
Watch the right guard right there. Cheston Blackshear. He has a hold of the face mask. You can see it clearly as anything. It's a good call. Brandon Miller came upfield on a great pass rush move and beat him.
Miller got a great jump off the snap.
Almost looked like he was offside.
Yes, it did. 5:40 remaining. Middle screen for Taylor. He's out to the 20. But a long way to go for a first down. They need to reach the 38-yard line. A long time since Georgia had a win against the top 10 opponent back in 1991 when the Bulldogs beat number 6 Clemson. Florida started this day ranked 6th in the nation. Georgia number 14. Second down, 15. Bulldogs have a 13-point lead with 5 minutes remaining, and that pass is short of Nafis Kareem. Ronald Bailey had him covered. Palmer's a true freshman from Nepean, Ontario, native Canadian. We told you during the Auburn game, Brandon Miller going off with an apparent shoulder injury. The Florida coaches became aware of Palmer when his dad, who was a fine linebacker in the Canadian Football League, sent the tape of Jesse playing in club football games in Canada to the coaching staff. They liked what they saw, invited him down for a visit. He wound up enrolling at the University of Florida. And it looked like Travis Stroud came across the line early. On third down and 13. He was a little bit anxious to get after the quarterback.
Well, that's a big penalty right there, too. Now, all of a sudden, the conversion is a great deal easier with that extra 5 yards.
Penalty's 5 yards.
It'll be third down and 13 now. It's third and 18 prior to the penalty.
You can watch Travis Stroud. He just gets a little anxious to get onto that quarterback.
Musical chairs at quarterback today for Florida, in a very tough spot for the true freshman Palmer. He threw 2 interceptions in that start against Auburn 2 weeks ago without a touchdown pass. Third and 13. Palmer dumps it off low. Taylor couldn't catch it. Now we'll see what Steve Spurrier will do, down by 13 with under 5 minutes remaining, looking at fourth down and 13.
Steve's going to go for this. I'd be shocked if he punts the ball. He's going to go for it. He needs to try. He knows the game's out of reach if he doesn't convert it anyway, so it's really not a gamble. You just have to go and try and make the first down.
And another problem for Florida, just 1 timeout remaining. Each team has 1 timeout.
Florida playing a lot of underneath man-to-man coverage right now with safeties on top. It's not an easy defense to attack. There's not a lot of seams to hit players in.
And now with some confusion and the play clock running out, Florida has used its last timeout. The worst big play in a game filled with big plays. Fourth down and 13 for Florida. In their own 25, trailing by 13, under 5 minutes remaining and no timeouts left for the Gators. Palmer throws too high and it's incomplete. Off the shoulder pads of Smart. Don't know if he meant to drop that, but if he did, it is truly a smart play because they'll get the ball back at the 27-yard line. Smart nearly had his 3rd interception of the game. Ball spotted at the 25. First and 10. Georgia takes over on down.
You got to give Joe Hines, the defensive coordinator at Georgia, some real credit today. Last week, he did a great job against Kentucky, keeping them out of the end zone. This week, against a good Florida team, He only gives up 17 points. There just wasn't a lot of places to throw the ball, but Steve Spurrier really being frustrated right now with the play of the quarterback position.
Safe play, as you might expect. Wasn't particularly safe for Olandis Gary as he got drilled by Mike Harris and Tony George. Check that. It was Selma Calloway, 32, not 22 Gary.
Now, if you're Jim Donnan, you're just telling your quarterback, bleed the clock. Make sure that on every single play, the clock runs all the way through the 25-second count. You've got to, at the same time, you can't pull the reins in totally yet because of the time. So just bleed it, be positive, keep pounding away, and you're moments away from the biggest win that you've had at Georgia.
Some Georgia fans were grumbling about Jim Donnan last year when he went 5-6 in his first year as coach. He'll be the toast of Georgia tonight if his team can finish the job, and they're moving closer as Edwards has a first down. Well, here is what the standings look like in the SEC Eastern Division at the moment with Tennessee's win. We haven't yet conceded this win to Georgia. There's still 4 minutes to play. But now Tennessee moves into the driver's seat if this score stands because the Volunteers defeated Georgia. That's the one loss for Georgia in the conference and for the season. A loss at Tennessee. And Steve Spurrier's told us a number of times in the last couple of weeks he believes Tennessee's going to win out. And he felt his team had to win out to have any chance at that 5th straight SEC title. Mike Harris, the injured player, being helped off to the Florida sideline. Another streak in jeopardy. Florida has been ranked in the AP top 10 in each of the last 81 polls. That's the longest streak in the country for a team being in the top 10. They were 6th starting the day. Wonder if they drop out of the top 10.
Well, they might drop out of the top 10, but think about that. What a string that is. You got to give Steve Spurrier and the Gators some real credit. I mean, in the 90s with the scholarship limitations, to me, it's unfathomable how a guy can do that. I just don't understand it.
He's trying to help Doug Johnson with a pat on the back, but it seems to me he needs to make some decisions. And perhaps part of the problem with this offense is the interchangeable parts, quarterbacks in and out, linemen in and out, coaches being chastised publicly. Certainly is not a tranquil situation. Boy, in the game zone.
John, this is a big mistake by Georgia. They have to use a timeout.
Well, the play clock was down to 0, and the snap still had not come.
Boy,
Jim Dunn is saying, "What?"
Yeah, I think Jim didn't feel the ball was marked where his players were alert enough to see the ball marked for play when the injured player was taken back off the field. I'm not sure, but boy, I'll tell you, you hate to use a timeout in this situation.
The main man today for Georgia, along with Robert Edwards, who scored 4 touchdowns, has been Hines Ward. Triple threat actually a quadruple threat when you throw in this aspect. The return game, and he set the tone for the game with a 50-yard return of the opening kickoff. He played some quarterback. He threw a pass off a reverse. He's had 7 catches today for 85 yards. He's run the option, 21 yards rushing on 5 carries. 1 out of 2 passing, 27 yards, 203 total yards today.
And I think you have to give Jim Donnan credit, Sean, the way he's used Hines Ward today. He just hasn't gone with Mike Bobo all afternoon. He's had Hines Ward a real active part of this offensive attack.
After the timeout, 1st and 10 from the 12-yard line. 3.5 minutes remaining. Olandis Gary up the middle. He's to the 7. We've talked about Ward's quest to become the first player in NCAA Division I-A history with 1,000 career yards in each of the 3 categories, receiving, rushing, and passing. And he went over 1,000 yards rushing today. He's 82 shy in passing. He also has a chance in return. Even if he gets it in just the first 3, he'd be the first player to do that.
You know what I like about him, too, is that here's a guy that came thinking he was a quarterback. Then he got moved to tailback. Then he got moved to wide receiver, and he's still out there plugging away for the Bulldogs. You know, he hasn't let all these changes affect him.
Olandis Gary inside the 5, breaks through tackles and goes into the end zone. Touchdown, Georgia. Seven-yard touchdown run for Olandis Gary, the junior from Washington, D.C., who transferred from Marshall University when Jim Donnan came here as coach. Florida was giving up an average of 41 yards per game rushing to its opponents. Georgia's rushed for 144. Dax Langley likes that left upright, but this one managed to sneak through, and it's a 20-point lead for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Sean, I've been on both sides of this kind of a game. When you win it, there's no greater feeling in all the world, and there's a lot of frustration on that Georgia sideline. Finally ended today. On the other side, if you're Florida, you got to come back, you got to regroup. You have to understand that this Florida team is not as strong as some of the ones in the past, but you still have some exciting football ahead of you.
Georgia and Tennessee move to the forefront of the race in the Eastern Division of the Southeastern Conference. There's the road ahead for Georgia. Auburn in a couple of weeks in Athens. Auburn coming off a loss today. And at Ole Miss, and then out of the conference against their rival Georgia Tech. Johnson squibs it again. Eugene McCaslin runs it to the 33. 2:33 remaining. Florida down by 20. 37-17. It'll be Jesse Palmer again at quarterback. There will be no defense of the national championship for the Gators, barring a miracle now over the final 2.5 minutes. And if what Steve Spurrier said holds true about Tennessee winning out, no chance at a 5th straight conference crown as well. Palmer pitched it back to Bo Carroll. That's a gain of 10, very near a first down. And let's look at the remaining schedule for the Gators. Vanderbilt at home on homecoming. That'll be a glum gathering. At South Carolina. And then Florida State in Gainesville. All kinds of numbers around this game, and another one will not be achieved. Steve Spurrier's 100th career coaching victory, combining his record at Duke and Florida. He was looking for a career coaching win number 100, and this is 11th season as a college head coach. He won't get it today. That pass is short of Aaron Kinney. Glenn Ford had the coverage. The post-game show coming up. Scores and highlights. And another terrific performance by Joe